ACoS is a very Amazon-centric. It's the opposite of ROAS. So ROAS is very typical in, say, a lot of other ad platforms. The reason why you can calculate things like ACoS instead of Amazon advertising is because Amazon owns the transaction. They can 100% say these ads led to these sales. It's very black and white. It's direct. It's within the same platform, can be correlated. That's really difficult. Like, so sales attribution is historically difficult to accurately determine on other ad platforms or pay-per-click platforms. And so with the fact that they can own that, they can do things like ad spend divided by ad sales. Very black and white, very distinct, owned within the same platform. And so ACoS essentially says, okay, I am spending this much on these ads and I am making this much in advertising sales. So ACoS is going to tell you how profitable your advertising is, which is very helpful and also can be unhelpful sometimes because it only tells you the very narrowed in story of how profitable your advertising is, which is important. So it's not like you want to ignore it, except for the fact that there is another distinct advantage to running Amazon ads, and that is for ranking purposes or to generate additional sales outside of just advertising sales. Well, let's be honest, if all of your sales come from advertising till the end of time, you don't have a healthy growing business. And so we want to be able to leverage our Amazon advertising to grow our overall sales. And that's what total ACoS tells us. So total ACoS is your ad spend divided by your total sales, and said what portion of my total sales am I attributing to my advertising. I say you can do really rough and dirty napkin math to say, okay, I have a 30% margin, I have a 50% total ACoS, 30 minus 15 is 15, I very roughly have a 15% margin. Rough napkin math, right? Like storage fees, all those things come into it, right? You want to have a really good profit and loss calculator. But you can roughly relate total ACoS much better to your overall profitability, let's say. And so the question that everybody wants in business, I don't think this is specific to Amazon businesses, but how can I grow both top and bottom line? Like, I want more sales, I want more profits, right? I mean, me as an agency owner, more sales, more profits, it's the goal, right? And so classic business, again, this is not specific to Amazon businesses whatsoever, but it's oftentimes when you're scaling, you have a little bit leaner profits. And when you are going after more profitability, you're probably cutting back on more scaling measures. So it's kind of like this balance. How do I ideally have my cake and eat it too, right? And so the question is, if you're talking about, again, from the terms of advertising on and also profitability, how do I increase my total sales, but yet maintain my same total ACoS number? The fact that this is a division problem actually makes it easier, because if the question was, how do I grow my total sales and not increase my ad budget, that's a much harder equation. However, if you said, how do I increase my sales and not grow my total ACoS? Well, if it's ad spend divided by total sales, I just need my total sales to increase at the same rate as my ad spend. And that is much more achievable. So then it becomes, how do I invest that additional ad spend to make sure that it's growing my total sales numbers? And actually what we found is the most effective way to do this evaluation, I'm getting ready to go through an audit with a brand right after this, is making sure that you're allocating your budgets properly on a per product level is huge. And sometimes if you look at, say, like the overall account, you're like, I don't know how we can get more efficient. I don't know where I can push products more, to rank more or to grow those additional sales. Or it seems like I'm doing all the things and keeping all the plates spinning. Like, where in my advertising should I be focused in on? Even brands who feel like they're doing everything correctly probably have some misallocation. So what we'll actually do is, and when I say per product, to clarify this, I mean per listing, because traffic is directed at a listing level. There's some nuances into the way the data is calculated. It makes sense to do it this way. Also, for context, we've started working with several large, say, clothing brands. I say started, we've been working with them for like 4 or 5 years now. And that has really shaped a lot of our, how do you figure out how to scale with massive amounts of complexity? So this is one way that we've done it, is look at your contributions to total sales on a per product level. Look at your ad spend contributions on a total account level. Look at the correlations between those two, and then look at what we call ad efficiencies, which is your ACoS, your total ACoS, and another number that we call ad sale percentage, which is a little bit lesser of the two, but it gives you context. Ad sale percentage is your ad sales divided by total sales. So it says what percentage of my total sales is attributed to ad. On launch, we're going to have 100%. Due to the sales attribution models, there are some cases you might have over 100%, just FYI, so don't freak out if you calculate that on launch and you're like, why is it saying I have 110% of my total sales from ads? It's because of the sales attribution windows. But so essentially what you're looking at is, what are my biggest contributors to my total sales? What are my big movers? Where am I allocating all of my ad budgets? And then what is the total ACoS performance? It's a classic example, right? I'm getting ready to go into this audit right after this call. They have one product that's making up 20% of their total sales. They're spending 38% of their ad budget on it. And that one product has a 16% total ACoS, which is above their targets, right? Their second bestseller has about a 20, so I think the first one's like 22%. The second one's a 20% total sales contribution. They're only spending 6% of their ad budget there, and the total ACoS on that product is sub 5%. So in the case of where can we grow and not increase this number of total ACoS, that's a great product to increase on, right? It's already driving 20% of my total sales volume. I know it's my biggest mover. I have less that I'm spending on it in terms of ad dollars, and it's wildly efficient from an ACoS and a total ACoS perspective. And if we want to talk ad sale attribution, only about 23% of the total sales are coming from advertising, which means there's probably room for me to grow, because these days, honestly, closer to a 50-50 split in terms of advertising to organic is not abnormal. And you might even at a healthy range be at a 60-40%. It really depends on the product. But so there immediately you can say, okay, there's 2 or 3 products. So instead of saying, where in my advertising can I get more efficient? It goes, where within these 2 products am I missing out on opportunities that I can then increase to grow sales? And that becomes way more actionable than, what in the world do I do? Like, did I launch another auto or something?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot to unpack there. But when you say, percentage of sales and percentage of ad budget, are you saying that they should be relatively close to one another, your percentage of sales to ad budget, or that just it should be in those the ballpark, or how does that work when you think about it?
Yeah, so this was just through doing a lot of audits, hundreds, potentially thousands at this point, and looking at this demographic. What we found is that any account where things are scaling healthfully, it tends to be a very close 1-to-1 ratio. To me, a mismanagement, so for example, if it's a product launch, right, we're probably going to have a fraction of a percentage in terms of total sales attribution, but a heavy weight on ad budgets. Or say there's a particular product where it's a heavy contributor, but I don't have really a heavy contributor in terms of spend. It could be that I'm like, I'm trying to get more profitable on this product, so I'm intentionally put it back. So there will be distinct strategic advantages as to why you may or may not have a 1-to-1. It's a good figure to look at, because what I find is that most brands are not even aware of the discrepancies in their account. They had no idea. So just looking at it, it's a pretty easy calculation, and it just gives you okay, maybe I should dig deeper into this product.